So, as I said, we're going to go right down to the basics. We're going to look at, as real estate agents, what do we really have overlooked? What are we missing in our day to day business? One of the very important factors that I always look at, and unfortunately, a lot of our fellow agents, they miss to see and acknowledge the fact that we are business people. We are in the business of real estate. Like the dentist is building up his practice, we are building our business. Now, what does that mean? We want to sort of break that down today. Uh, we all probably know someone that has a small business, a mom and pop shop around the corner, whether it's a small computer repair or a restaurant, a hairdresser, whatever it happened to be. Now, when they see themselves as business people, what do? They're constantly coming up with strategies how to build up their business. They're looking for ways of increasing and building up their client base. Now, what does that end up to? They're looking at their business as a priority to anything else. Okay? Once you look at it as a priority, it means that you don't start your day by looking up at skies and hoping the almighty God is going to drop a couple of clients on your lap for that day. So it would sort of solve your financial needs for that day. And again, tomorrow, same thing. You see, when we reach out to our clients, they see our presence and they need to see that. Now, when we are out there, I'm sure you've heard this question asked from you many times. Oh, hi, John. Are you still in real estate? Are you still doing real estate? Those of you have heard this, by a shake of hand or thumbs up, show me. That's a common question. You know why they ask? Because as real estate agents, we fail to show them that, yes, we're still around and you can count on us for any help in real estate. Okay? So we got to reach out to these people. How many of us made our calls today or on Friday or over the weekend? How many of us actually picked up the phone and went through our client base and trying to reach out to them and tell them, yes, Mehdi here, and just call to see how you're doing. If there's anything I can help you with, please, you know where to reach me. You have my email, depending on who you're dealing with, right? Or call me directly. Now, as a habit, as a real estate agent, I myself almost never relied on email communication. I always wanted to go see people. Let me give you an example. If you have a friend that, let's say it's in the jewelry business, okay, and you see him or her in a party or you go to a store, when you see that person that is in a jewelry store, after the normal hi, how's the family, etc., etc., what do you ask? You always talk about the subject matter that this person is involved with. Jewelry, you talk gold, you talk diamond. We are the same way. If I have a friend that sells computer, when I see him, I ask about updating my computer, getting a new one. So it helps to set up a specific date or time to go out there and visit your clients, talk to them, listen to them, be a good listener. This is what they need to have, okay? Now, we're going to get into how we build this up slowly. Remember, we said we're going to go right to the basic. In Persian, there is an old saying, they say, once you put the first, if you're building a wall, when you put the first brick crooked, it goes crooked all the way to skies, okay? So as real estate agents, if we start in a wrong foot, our whole career is going to be affected by that. And we would see the effects to that. Now, obviously, we all have real estate 101. We all have our farm area. We have an area that we feel comfortable with. We're in good command of what's going on in there. What do we need to know? Do we know how many homes are in that neighborhood? Do we know how many semis, how many condos, how many commercial? Do we know the income level of our farm area? How many postal walks are there? Are we familiar with what the need is in our neighborhood? Have we checked our competitors? We know who we are competing with. If you have identified someone as to be your competition, have we checked their website? Do we know what they're offering? Have you ever run into a situation where you go for a listing presentation and they say, oh, thank you very much, but I'd like to speak to another couple of agents? Well, it helps for you to know who that couple of agents are in your neighborhood. It's good to know if they are type of people that they're going to cut throat or they're good agents. You need to know everything that you need to know about them. So this way you go to this presentation all prepared. Have you had your flyers ready? Is your flyers are ready to go out? You see, earlier we talked about how many postal walks are in there. And by the way, as a side note, I always recommend to have small farm area so it'll be manageable and you can take care of it easier. Anywhere from 1,500 to 2,000 homes or properties of all kind are recommended because they're easier to manage. Now, some agents, unfortunately, they get all excited. They go to one of these seminars and somebody tells them, oh, you got to start marketing yourself and do this, that, whatever else. So they go and print out 20,000 flyers. They send them out. First of all, the cost of 20,000 flyers, and then the postal box that you're going to pay for it, and they sit waiting for customers to call them. It ain't going to happen. It would not go through. The reason for it, because there is no regular cycles of advertising and marketing yourself, and you need to have that. You need to have minimum 6 weeks of flyers going one after another every 2 weeks. If you look at a month period, basically it is recommended that you send out a flyer, novelty item like a calendar, a pen, whatever that you feel is right. The third time, you got to be there yourself. Now, like you, I live in the same city as you are. I understand there's COVID-19. I understand that there are some limitations right now, but this is the formula that you got to follow. This is what you need to do in order for your flyers to be effective. When you send out a flyer, a novelty item twice, and the third time that they see you in person, you register in their mind. They would get to know and get to know your face, your name, and they get used to it. So if I run into you at Longo's or Loblaws, they're probably going to say, hi, you know how the market is, how the home prices are, is it up, down, what the interest is, and there is your lead. That's when you're starting, okay? You got to know how to handle objections. Have you practiced your listing presentation? Do you know exactly what you're going to say? Remember when we were young, some of you are young here, I'm talking about myself. If we wanted to go out on a Friday night, Saturday, we looked ourselves in the mirror to see if we've got all whatever it takes to be out there. Same thing. You going on a presentation when you're young, it's like to meet someone. Now you're meeting a prospect that you're going to buy or sell a home for them. So you need to know what you want to say, how you want to say it. You need to know what objections they may come. And by the way, talking about objections, this is to those of you or those agents that they cut commissions. They're used to this ridiculous thing. If you buy with me, I'll sell for free or vice versa, which I can't stand that approach. It's really prehistoric and it shows nothing but desperateness. When people come to you and ask for commission reduction, it's usually in the absence of value. Okay, When they see no value in the way you represented yourself, they give themselves uh, permission to ask you to reduce your commission. Let me ask you this. When you go to Louis Vuitton store, would you have the guts to ask the salesperson, if I buy one purse, can you give me the second one for free? Does that make sense? Or let's talk about a divorce lawyer, okay? And I'm not talking about real estate lawyers. Those poor guys, they make very little money. I'm talking about divorce guys because they make $1,500, $1,600 an hour. Have you heard one of them offering you, well, your first divorce is going to cost $50,000, but on the second one, I'll give you a deal? They don't. Why they don't do that is because they are presenting you with a value. You wouldn't dare to negotiate a price with them. It's the same thing in real estate. If I'm not a real estate agent and if someone walks to my house and they want to talk to me about selling my home, if I feel the agent is weak and I can approach this agent by digging into his pocket and getting the commission that he's making back to myself, it's only the sign of that person have not been able to substantiate the value for him or herself. So we get to that later on as we talk about your physiology and your confidence and the way you walk into a listing presentation. Now, going back to know your farm area, so we need to know who you're competing against. We need to know if there are any changes that is going to be taking place in the neighborhood, such as changes in taxes, for instance, new developments coming there, a park is being taken out and replaced by residential, or vice versa. They're going to have a new park, new schools, new churches, synagogue, mosque, whatever that the needs are, right? You need to know everything, okay? The unfortunate thing with our business is the entrance to real estate, it always has been, in my humble opinion, very easy. Anyone that is out there and they've got a few extra $1,000 in their pocket, they get out there and they become real estate agents. A few days ago, I had to go see my doctor, and he asked me to see this other person, a kind of doctor, whatever, and person had a mask on. When I entered to the office, I was asked, hi, do you remember me? I said, no, I'm sorry, I don't. You have a mask on. When the mask came off, I noticed that she's a person that is in real estate and mortgages and stuff like this. For the whole duration of this appointment, I could not take her seriously, because how can you have the most expensive item in your life listed with somebody that has another job or works part-time in a department store and comes in and sells real estate on the side? Anyways, keep that in mind. You want to, when I say know who your competitors are, I'm talking about the major players in your neighborhood, in your farm area, okay? Now, we need to know, my apologies. We need to know if there are going to be new development, parks, hospitals, any of these things that it would affect your business as a real estate agent. You need to know the neighborhood characteristic. Uh, I had a client many years ago, a multi-millionaire guy, that he didn't like to have mortgages, etc., etc. Very high-end type of guy. And he said, I'm going to go buy myself a $200,000 townhouse and live comfortable forever after. I said, you can't. I said, your personality doesn't fit living in this neighborhood when your neighbor is going to be changing his oil in the driveway. Okay? We need to know what kind of neighborhood we're taking these people to. I always recommend, when you showing homes to a client, it's my recommendation, have them to check it out once during the day, once at night, and once over the weekend. The reason for that is you want to know what that neighborhood looks like. You could be on the weekend going and visiting that neighborhood, and you see 5,000 cars parked on the street, okay? And the person may have a major difficult time with that. Now, uh, I'm going to shortly go into what I call your physiology, okay? And to me, that is incredibly important. And I really, really want you guys to think about this, okay? Would you agree that what we sell out there is probably one of the most expensive items any client or homeowner would have, right? I mean, what's more expensive, their car or their home? What's more expensive, their cottage or their home? Now, let me give you an example. Imagine you've gone to a Rolls Royce dealer and you want to buy a Rolls Royce. They range from 250,000 to $500,000. When you walk in there, you notice how sharp the agent looks, how sophisticated and chic the showroom is. Keep that in mind. They're selling a two to three, $400,000 product. You selling a product that starts minimum at $700,000 and up, at least in our area, in the GTA, from all our offices are, right? So should we look good? No doubt. Okay. This doesn't mean you go out there and buy yourself a $3,000 Armani suit. No. What I'm talking about is standing tall. I'm talking about you looking good. You don't look sloppy. You don't look as you just got off the bed, your scruffy hair, and just walking in. You have a what they used to call it, I lost my razor look. That goes back in the old days with Miami Vice, where it was fashionably chic not to shave and look scruffy. I'm sorry, it ain't gonna work. And we are not in one of those real estate shows in Los Angeles that they can show up in any look and they get away with it. We are in the real world. We are selling homes with regular people, okay? So should we be matching the product that we're selling? Absolutely, absolutely. Now, we're gonna expand on that and we're gonna go beside the appearance, we're gonna go to your body gestures. You may say, oh, I know all this, tell me about real estate. But you see, this is what he makes real estate. As much as knowledge we may have, when we go to see a client, the days of taking a bundle of papers with you and showing them all these graphs and up and downs in the market and all that, at the end of the day, they will deal with you if they like you, if they feel comfortable with you, if they enjoy having a conversation with you. This is what is important. There are people out there that they're academically very strong. And when I say academically, I don't mean having a PhD from Harvard. I'm talking about in our business, okay? But they have a difficult time presenting themselves when it comes to talking and having a conversation with a client. Unfortunately, some agents, they have a habit of when they sit at the kitchen table with the client, they start telling about their life problems. Oh, my teenager is doing this, that. My husband comes home late and I just had a car accident. Stop that. They don't want to hear that. They're not interested. What does that mean? You got to be a good listener. You got to sit there, listen carefully, and wait for them to give you a hint as what direction they want to go, whether they're serious about selling or they just want to touch, feel the market to see how the market is. Listen for hints. You see, judges, police officers, lawyers, when they're sitting in front of a person out there, they sit very patiently and usually quiet. They're observing their body language. From their body language, they can tell if the person is being sincere, they're telling you the truth, or they're giving you lies. So this is what we need to do when we are out there in our presentation. No personal life stories. Okay, talk about something that they're interested. As you walk throughout their home, and those of you lucky enough you get the opportunity, when they ask you, would you like to look at the house first? As you walking around, I want you to pay attention to everything that you see in that house, from what they have on the fireplace mantle or hobbies or this. You can pick up so many hints. That's why I always recommend, it is a good idea to know a little bit about everything. Okay, this doesn't mean when you see them you start pouring all these information. But let's say if they talked about luxury cars, you have some basic knowledge. If you talk about a trip they had to Paris, you know a couple of things about that. If they talk about buying a boat, you know something about that. If wines are important, I want you to know a little bit. And that's how you build connection. Remember, when you're a teenager, they have nothing else to talk. So, what's your favorite color? Okay, they don't give a darn what your favorite color is. What they're really trying to do is they're building a bridge. They are breaking the ice, and that's what you need to do. Okay, now uh, the way you stand, the way you sit are incredibly important. And I'm not going to get into that right now in detail. On a later date, I will share with you information on micro expressions. Okay, micro expressions are very, very fine body language that if you train yourself being able to read those, you basically can tell what's going on in their mind and in their heart. Without really saying a word, you know what you're dealing with, you know what the situation is, right? So now we're looking at it on a very basic level. Uh, the way you carry yourself, I put a lot of value to that. Uh, you don't want to look that there's a lack of confidence in there. Okay, that makes you feel good, and when you feel good, what does it happen? It directly affects your result. Now let me ask you a question, and this probably applies to ladies more than it does to men, because when we go to get a haircut, we just walk out of there and we don't care if this way or the other. But for ladies, when you come out of a hairdresser, you know how good you feel about yourself. Your hair is all nicely colored or short or blow dry and whatever. As you walk towards your car, you feel good. I want this same feeling out there with you when you go out there to see a client. It does affect your productivity. It really does, because it makes you feel good. Therefore, nice words come out of your mouth. You're more patient. Your confidence helps you not to jump all over the place from one subject to another, trying to impress them. You see, nowadays we're dealing with very smart and intelligent buyers and sellers. On a stroke of a couple of fingers on their keyboard, they know exactly what's going on in their market. In some cases, they even know more than a lot of agents do. Okay, so you're not going to be able to impress them as you walk in there to tell them all these numbers and we increase the numbers 1/10 of a point. They're not interested. Okay, all they want to know is how you're going to help me, how you're going to help me to sell my house, and how soon you're going to be doing that. What is it going to cost me? What are the things that you're going to be doing for me? So by sitting, listening carefully, then if you have everything planned and properly put together, you take it to the next step and next step. Now, in most cases, like I said, we're dealing with very sophisticated clients. Let's face it, if somebody has the ability to write a check or qualify for a million, two, three, $5 million home, trust me, they know what they're doing. Okay, so try to be yourself. Try not to pretend to be somebody that you're not. Okay, Now, uh, unlike guys like Tony Robbins, I think I said his name right, which, by the way, I admit I'm not a fan, okay? And I'll tell you why I'm not. You see, guys like him, they get a whole bunch of people in a banquet hall or a whatever. They're selling all these tickets, 200, $300, and those they want to sit close. They think if the raise coming from Mr. Robin, if he hits them, suddenly overnight they're going to turn from 0 to 100. It ain't going to happen. Okay? So this is why I rely on being realistic and being ourselves when we are out there. Basically, going into one of these meetings is like, it happens to all of us. When you don't feel good, when you get home and say, oh, I'm just going to go take a nice warm shower. After you come out of the shower, the effect wears off. It only stays with you for 5 to 10 minutes. Going to these meetings are the same. So that's why I'm looking at how to build the foundation to real estate. Unfortunately, a lot of us, including Ori at the time and now Humber, I'm not sure if they cover these things or not, they just teach you and show you the very basic that you all agree. Probably most of the stuff that we learn in real estate school doesn't come handy on a day-to-day basis. Okay, uh, would you agree with that? You guys, the real training start when you get out there and you start working and talking to people. Okay, so by so and so motivator or mentor or coach telling you if you really believe in it, if you're 5'10", by tomorrow you're going to be 6'2", ain't going to work. Like every small mom and pop shop business, we got to market ourselves. We got to rely on the good old fashioned marketing. We got to make those calls. Every time you complain about how business is not good, look back and find out, did I do whatever I was supposed to do? Did I make my calls? Did I send out flyers? Did I call in my previous client and ask them if kids are grown up and would you be considering buying your daughter that goes to York University a condo that you don't have to pay for the residence there? Are you maybe thinking about scaling down and downsizing and get the money in your pocket? So please practice to pay some attention to the basics of real estate. And trust me, it works. It really, really works. Okay. Uh, Now, later on, like I said, I'm going to be putting some special session on body language that it would help all of us to sort of get into reading what our clients are talking about and how we can approach them. Uh, Let me give you an example of that. Many of you, you've been sitting in uh, a meeting with wife and husband. Have you ever noticed that at one point or another, one of them gets frustrated and they've just had enough from listening to you as a real estate agent? Have you experienced that in your work? Mark, what do you think? But show of Tom, have you had that? It happens all the time. When you're able to read their micro expressions, you easily can figure out, I've talked enough. Okay. Now, I either wrap up the session, I'm not going to push them on the offer, I'm not going to say, here, please sign, sign, sign. I remember a case where the seller was like 100 years old, probably. This poor man had difficult time breathing. Okay. And I was a cooperating agent. And the kids were giving this pen, sticking the pen in his hand. Here, sign here, sign here. And I know what the hell they're doing. They're waiting for dividing the money between them, right? I said, would you like me to come back tomorrow? And no, 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 I don't want you to go, You want to get the signatures tonight. So, anyways, uh, be a good listener. It does pay. It really pays. Uh, have value to what you do and what are you representing. Uh, when we are out there in public, as they know, we are real estate agents. When you ask a real estate agent, what do you do? The doctor says, I'm a doctor. The dentist says, I help people to fix their teeth, this and that. Plastic surgeon says, I help people reconstructive surgeries, etc. When they ask us, what do we say? Oh, I'm in real estate. Really? And they're going to be lining up to get to you. No, they're not. Okay? I am in the business of helping people to find the right home for their family. I am an investment real estate consultant or agent to find the right investment for my client. I am in the business of helping people to find the right investment. Okay? We got to pay attention to our vocabularies that we use. Uh, One little keyword that you say, it's the difference of making it or not to. Let me give you an example to prove my point. Uh, I have done both commercial and residential real estate. Uh, in the last 30 years that I've been doing this, I have witnessed many times when people buy homes, they make emotional decisions. They could walk into a home and one of them, whether it's a husband or wife, could see a beautiful Austrian chandelier that they get very impressed with. And that alone, it helps them to proceed forward. Or they like the finished basement, is a man cave, and the husband likes it. Or most men are into multiple garages. Like if I see a house with 3-car garage, I always say this is a good home. We're going forward with this. So that one thing that they helps them to make a decision, it works in your conversation with a client. That one right thing that you say, it could connect you to them. And when that happens, they ask you, would you like a drink? Can I get you a drink? Coffee, tea, cognac, whatever. And what's the right drink to ask? Glass of water. Okay? Whether you drink that or not, a glass of water. The bridge is being building up. You need to get ready to take the listing. You need to get ready to do a closing. Uh, I hope that there is no Korean friends here. I say this with no disrespect. I went to a offer presentation and they asked me if I like to have a cup of tea. And being Persian, tea is one of our weaknesses. The moment we say hi, we need tea to be there. And a cup of tea was presented to me. I just looked at that. I said, oh my God. And I end up drinking it, but I got the deal. Okay? So that's why I ask you a glass of water. At least you know what you're getting and you're building that bridge to take your business to next step. Okay? Now, you, like every other agent, from time to time, you run into clients that based on the market condition and situation, they ask one of their family members to go and get a real estate license. Okay? Those of you been around a long time, this is perfectly normal and natural that they do that because they figure, look, Johnny, why don't you go get your license instead of working at McDonald's and making 15 bucks or 14 bucks an hour? If I'm buying something, you can do the transaction for me and you make yourself $15,000, $20,000. So what does that mean to us? That if we don't replace our database, our client base, eventually we're going to be left with no clients. Eventually we're going to have nobody to call to. So as you lose clients for whatever reason, they move to Florida, or kid got a license and he wants to up that to do his investment. This is why those daily calls are so important. And if you go back to my first point when we started, a few people were absent that I noticed that they've joined us a few minutes later. Uh, we need to look at our business as we are in business for ourselves. That is so incredibly important. And if we do, then every day we look at real estate as a priority in our mind, in our daily agendas. We live with real estate. We go to sleep with real estate. We wake up with real estate. We take shower with real estate. We drive from A to B point with real estate in our mind. Okay? And that's what we need to do. We got to keep building up this database. Now, if you look at the people you may know in real estate, you don't need to go far, just in our own companies. We probably know a few people that you've had an opportunity to deal with, like Barry Cohen, like Bijan Barati, like Bill Tom, etc., etc. Okay? The reason they don't feel the financial pinch like everybody else do is because they make these daily contacts on a regular basis. And if they don't do it themselves, they have people do it on their behalf, but with their name. Those of you, again, been around a long time, you know the way real estate works is like you're up here, come down, and then up again, down again. We need to do these building up for those down periods. Now, if you have no motivation to do this, you need to put yourself in, don't take me the wrong way, but you got to feel the pain. Okay? Nobody is going to come and bail us out when our bank account is low. Okay? Those of you have children, small children, or those kids in university, that they come to you and say, Dad, I need a car, or I'm getting married, I need some help to help me out with this. Or your 10-year-old says, I need a new bicycle. Okay? If you don't have it, it really hurts. It really hurts as a mother, as a father, to tell your kids, sorry, we can't afford it. We can hardly afford our rent or mortgage. So when you feel that pain and you sit in your own little quiet time and you visualize that, trust me, when you get on that phone, you make those phone calls with such an energy that you know your financial future is dependent on that. A good friend of mine that uh, I've known him for 40 years, he came to see me one day all depressed. And I said, what's going on? You know, I came to my office. He goes, my life is going upside down. My wife is not happy. We haven't been on a vacation for 2, 3 years. My kids this, my job this. I said, do me a favor. I had one of those big boards, whiteboards in my office. I said, write down all your problems and number them. I remember exactly, he numbered 14 different problems that he had. I said to him, he was close to the whiteboard. I asked him, I said, please come further back where I was standing. I said, look at the list from here. He goes, yeah, your point. So what is the common denominator between these 14 problems that you wrote down on the board? He said, I don't know. I said, don't you think you only have one problem? And That's how, that's money. All those problems, his wife was complaining because every month they had to struggle to pay the mortgage or go on a vacation, go out for dinner. His job was on the rocks, everything else. I said, you only have one problem: go make more money. Unfortunately, our business accommodates a lot of lazy people or those that are not serious about this business. You and I, we both know that that little piece of paper that we carry in our wallets called real estate license can make us anywhere from dollar to $500,000, $1 million. You all know we have over 25 people at Realtron that they make over $1 million, and about 60 or 70, somewhere around there, people that they make over $500,000. And they all use that little license that we all carry. It's the same thing. It puts no limitation in what you can do and how much you can go. So take this real estate 101 seriously. I didn't come here today to give you a whole bunch of stats and numbers and everything else. I shared with you my own experience, what I have seen. Would you believe it if I say I have almost never reduced my commission? Not only that, occasionally I have even charged more commission than what the norm is. Do you know how I was able to do that? I showed client value. I showed them that how I can deliver. Okay. Now, I think they have put a little chat point in here where if any of you have a question, you can ask. If there is any, I'll be more than happy to answer them. I think you can text your question and we will take care of it. I see a lot of familiar faces here. Hi, Mrs. Baradaran and Juvain, Zareen. Erica, you with us?
Yes.
Can you please unmute everyone in case they like to expand on what we talked about?
Sure.
Thank you so much, dear.
Looks like right now everyone is in control of themselves, so whoever has a question, go right ahead.
Miss Ma Kermani, come on. You're on mute, Ma.
Hi, Mehdi. Thank you so much for the session. One of the things that you mentioned, it was listening. Just listen, just sit down and listen. And that's what I learned yesterday. And that's what I practice.
Just yesterday.
Takes a long time to learn something. But listening, I think, is very, very, very important. Just
amazing power in listening. Have you noticed when people, when they want to talk about somebody else, they compliment that person by saying, oh, he or she is a good listener?
Yeah.
Hey, use all these free tools that you have available to you. They're out there, it's free. You don't need to pay anything for it. Use it. People like it, enjoy it. But thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
Anyways, thank you all for joining this meeting. I really appreciate it. And if you were to take a couple of or the most important points out of this meeting is please pay attention to your physiology. No one likes to see or talk or meet a person that they look depressed, or whether physically, the way they stand, sit, and move their body around, or talking negatively or in a depressed way. Uh, uh, I remember a few years ago, somebody called me, an Italian builder, and my name had been given to him to contact me to sell this project, right? So I made the appointment with him. On that day that I was supposed to meet him, you would not believe. Have you heard the expression they say, when it rains, it pours? I had every problem that you can imagine on that day landing on my shoulder. And few hours later, I had to go see this very VIP guy. Uh, as I was driving to his office, I actually had a laugh. I said, if he only knew what I have in my backpack now. But when I walked in there, I hold myself up and had a very nice conversation with him. We built a very successful business relationship with one another. And when I came out of that office, I said to myself that your attitude works. Attitude is like a teeter totter. We have good attitude, bad attitude. Okay? Always focus on your good characteristics. People appreciate it. And on that note, like I always say, a mind at peace is a mind at work. So have a peaceful life to give your brain uh, the ability to work creatively and productively.